Hey, this is Roy Cannaday, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Jabba's Palace, a love letter game, a Star Wars reimplementation of the classic love letter, super quick card game. Let's take a look. In Jabba's Palace, at the beginning of the game, you're going to select one of these agenda cards. You'll shuffle them up, choose one, and that'll kind of be the agenda for the round. This is kind of like the condition to win the game if the entire deck of cards runs out. So it could be things like whoever has the highest number of highest number in their hand wins the round, or maybe whoever has the highest sum of hut cards in their play area wins. That means the cards that they've played during the game. And then this is the highest number of hut and rebel cards in their hand both win the round. So this could be people that have ties because there are rebel cards and hut cards that have the same numbers, and this is the most rebels in your play area wins the round. So these can kind of like mix up the win condition if the deck runs out, but the game can end a lot of times by just knocking the other players out. So if you've never played a love letter style game, in Jabba's Palace each player is dealt one card. So let's pretend like we have 3 players here, and then you'd have the agenda. Let's say just the highest person wins. You would deal a card that's basically out of the game, so that way you can't have perfect information. And then you take turns as a player. So as a player, you would have a card in your hand, you would draw a second card, and you would choose one of those 2 cards to play. And they're all going to have different abilities here in the corner. So like Boba Fett is choose a player, take a card out of their hand, and place it in your play area. This can help a lot with some of those agendas that need to have like the most of a certain type of card in your play area. That could help you win the game at the end. And then this Han Solo card is a new card to the game. It's really cool. At the end of the game, if this card is in your hand, you gain a victory token. So a lot of times you're going to be trying to find cards like the R2-D2 lets you look at your opponent's hand or look at the card that's hidden here at the beginning of the game. The guard card allows you to basically guess another player, and they are going to, if you guess the right number, they're going to be knocked out. A lot of times you're going to be knocking players out in the game, and so it has a little bit of player elimination, but the games are so quick that it doesn't really matter that much. But the cool thing about this is there are mirrors of like each of the numbers here. So you have the guard, which basically just guess the number, and then you have C-3PO, which lets you guess a number, but if you get the wrong number, then they get to guess back on you. So that's kind of an interesting little combo there, or a little difference here. All of the green cards here are all the hut cards. All of the red ones are the rebel cards. And there's a bunch of interesting interactions in here. There's a lot of cards that are very similar to Love Letter, like the 2 here allows you to choose another player and just look at their hand. So that's very similar to how it works in normal Love Letter. But there's other interesting things here like Chewbacca. The 3, choose another player. If they have a hut card of 4 or less in their hand, they're knocked out. So that's very different and kind of new. And 4, of course, is very similar to regular Love Letter. On your next turn, players choose or cannot choose card effects to affect you, but then there's also another 4 in here with Lando Calrissian, which is going to let you look at a player's hand and then choose if you want to trade with them. So there's a little bit more choices in the game, and some of these cards that have the same numbers have different abilities on them. Of course, you have things like Luke Skywalker, the 7 now. You choose another player. If they have a hut card in their hand, they're out. And then to mirror that, the highest card in the game is actually Jabba, which one of the players has secretly hidden here underneath the thing here, which is an 8, and this is if they have a rebel card in their hand, they're knocked out. So you have these cards that are kind of like playing off the Star Wars theme a little bit. My favorite card is the Rancor. It is a 6, but then when you play it, you basically, all the players with the lowest number in their hand except 0 are knocked out of the round. So basically you're going to count from 1 up. So when you play the Rancor, he says, anybody have a 1? If no one has a 1, then you go to 2. If anybody has a 2, they'd be knocked out. Then you go to 3, and it just goes all the way up till whoever had the lowest card left in their hand is knocked out with the Rancor. And it's kind of funny, but that the only person that would, if Luke Skywalker isn't there, then Jabba himself, you know. So it's kind of very interesting how all the cards interact together. And there's cool stuff like Leia allows you to draw 2 cards and keep one of them. So then you put some cards on the bottom of the deck. It gives you a bunch of different information. And it's kind of cool how they have the different rebel cards and hut cards, which make the game have strange thematic ties, even though it is literally just a small card deck. I played this with a different variety of people, and it works super well. But yeah, Love Letter is basically you play a bunch of rounds whenever everybody's knocked out, or the deck runs out and then you try to see who fulfills the agenda. If you win, you're going to get one of the little tokens here, and depending on player count, it has a nice little thing in the rulebook here. You have to have a certain number of tokens to win. So if you're playing with 2 players, you need 6 to win, 3, 5, 4, 4, 5, you need 3, and if you're playing with 6 players, you need 3 to win. So basically, the game kind of scales depending on the number of players, and these are like really nice, high-quality tokens, which I think are really cool. And it all comes like in a little bag here. You also get these cards that basically say exactly what is in every deck, which gives everybody the information they need, and it has like a little description of what the actual text on the cards is and what the ability is. And if you get knocked out, you could flip this over and be like, oh, I got knocked into the Sarlacc pit. Awesome, interesting thematic stuff there for Star Wars: A Love Letter Game.
So I've always really enjoyed Love Letter. One of the interesting things about Love Letter is it's a really small deck of cards, and I know a lot of people out there think it's played out or there's too many different versions and things like that. But for me, it's always worked really well, especially in those interesting situations where it's like I want to play something during lunch break at work, or I want to play something like at dinner when you're waiting on the meal to come in. It's like a perfect little filler game, and it always has those like interesting decisions that you have to make with different cards. This is not too far divergence from Love Letter, but it has some interesting twists, and it's strange how they can like add Star Wars to it and give it that thematic touch. The fact that you have the Rebel cards that have different abilities than the actual Hutt cards, and a lot of the cards like counteract off of those things, and there's sort of different versions of every sort of thing, and it's kind of cool to see different powers that are kind of similar to ones that you're used to in Love Letter, and then seeing some stuff that's slightly different, like the Rancor was a really cool card where you're counting down and then counting up to see who has it and see who gets knocked out first. I played this with gamers here at the Dice Tower. I played it with Chris and Mike, and they really enjoyed the game and had a lot of fun with it. They also played it with people who had never played Love Letter before. I know you think that's probably hard to find, but then there's people out there like that. This game is just refreshing. As you bring it to the table, it's really simple to play, really easy to get to the table. You could play this almost anywhere. I mean, this is a great one that you can play like while waiting to get on a plane, all sorts of different stuff like that. It's like a perfect little super short filler game. If you really enjoy that Star Wars theme, it's kind of strange how a little bit of that flavor comes through when it's just a very, very small deck of cards. I really enjoy the fact that there are different missions that you can kind of have, so that in-game scoring can be different depending on which one you have for the game. So sometimes it's the highest card, sometimes it's the person with the most Hutt cards in play, sometimes it's the person with the most Rebel cards in play. You're trying to hold on to different things at the end of the round, and that kind of mixes it up a little bit, even though a lot of games of Love Letter or Jabba's Palace don't actually end up going all the way to the end because everybody ends up knocking each other out. I really enjoy this game. This game is super fun. It's super fast-paced. I know Love Letter, people think it's like a tired out thing, and it's fun to hate on Love Letter at this point for some people, but I've always really enjoyed it. I think it's a really great game, and a game that I've gotten a lot of gamers into. So if you have someone who likes Love Letter or someone who enjoys Star Wars, this is a great game to get for them. I'm actually going to give this a seal of excellence because I think it's great and a lot of fun. And I know it's a really light game and really super simple, but I enjoy it that much, and I think it's a great one that you can just throw out on the table whenever. So that is Jabba's Palace, super quick Love Letter game. If you enjoyed it, make sure to let me know if you like this review. Hopefully I'll see you around sometime soon. Make sure to check out everything else here on the Dice Tower, and I'll see you on the next one.